Hello and welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Today's Youth. In this episode, we will be meeting with a multitasking young lady. She will tell us more about her education and about her current career after the short break. Welcome back, dear viewers, and we're joined here at the studio by Dina Hlal. Dina is working in the marketing field, and she will tell us more about her education and career. Thank you for joining us, Dina.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dina, you studied political science with an emphasis on international law. Tell me more about your education and why did you choose this field in specific?
Well, to speak about my education, I'll refer back to college. Definitely, international law has always been of interest. Conflicts between countries, negotiations, arbitration has always been of a great interest. And so I thought I'll take baby steps. First, I took political science, and then I specialized in international law, followed by after graduation studies in arbitration. Complemented with marketing because I thought that's the most important tool. You can market anything, you can promote anything, that's important.
Mm-hmm. Right. Gina, you're currently working in the marketing field. You're working also in export association. Tell me more about this, your current career.
My current career is export promotion. So
right.
In basic terms, anything that Egypt exports, what I have to do is select the right market to export, identify the opportunities, identify the challenges, and then work on solutions in that market. So basically what I do is I take the exporter into what we call the exporter's journey, identifying the market, getting him export ready to market, and then promoting his products correctly, let's say that, in the market, and then helping him meet at the end of the road the right buyer.
Mm-hmm. You're an expert development director, and specifically within the African continent, you're working on promoting exports between African countries, between Egypt and the other African countries. Is that right?
Let me tell you about Africa. That's an interesting story. So before joining the export promotion field regarding Egypt, I used to work for COMESA, the International African Organization.
Yes.
And so this is what triggered my passion to Africa. Too many opportunities that needs to be unleashed, too many challenges that we can capitalize on. And then moving forward, it is of special interest, definitely Africa, which led me to be based actually in Africa, in Nairobi to be specific, for 2 years. I would say that these are the highlight of my life. Returning back after the 2 years in Africa changed my perspective, and this is when I thought, well, then I do have a role. I do have a bigger role to have impact on the business community and how they viewed Africa and all the stereotypes that come along with Africa.
So if someone would like to export products to an African country, they would come to you and you would help them?
Exactly. So this is how it starts. Somebody has a very interesting product.
Yeah.
They're not sure where to export it and what are the conditions to export a specific product. So what I do is we run the exercise, market research, or market intelligence. We provide him with the right market insights. Is your product accepted? For how much? Who's competing with you? What would it take to sustain yourself in the market? And so basically I give him the full array and the full manual of how to succeed in the market. Definitely not Africa, but recently Egypt has been more focused about Africa, feeling that we have a role that we need to play there, but we can do the same job for any other country.
So through our program, we can tell our viewers that they would come to your association, and it's
Definitely.
a volunteer thing. I mean, it's not paid.
It is paid, but depends on the service and the amount of information required. If I can provide the information on one-on-one consultation, then yes, of course, it's complimentary. If it requires access, information, research, then it is, of course, paid for.
Right. You also have had so far a long career. Tell me the different jobs you started with, and then you moved from one job to another, and the studies. I mean, you had extracurricular studies, you studied marketing, you studied international arbitration also.
Yes.
Tell me more about
So
these
I'm
studies.
currently about to conclude my MBA, which was very different than law and arbitration, but definitely provided more insights of how to do the matters properly instead of doing them, arbitrarily. I do believe in education along my journey of expertise. At a first glance, my experience seems very diversified, but now I realize how they complement one another, how they all brought me to be the person I am now.
Yeah.
When I graduated, I worked with one of the best women leaders in the field at the National Council for Women. And this was my first lesson. So being a graduate of a distinguished university, I started with an attitude, but then this is when you realize you have to leave your attitude outside and start learning and start progressing and start putting hands-on experience. So this was my first station at the National Council for Women. Also within the International Law Department, advocating women's rights, updating articles of any conventions that we signed on the international world. And then I moved to the business development side. This is when I started encountering private sector. What does it mean for a private sector to sustain itself, to grow, to take baby steps, to expand in a market, to advance its product, and so on. Moving from that, this is when I joined COMESA. And then later on, well, I was a bit jealous. Instead of working on a very wide scope of, back then, 19 COMESA countries, I thought, well, why not do it to Egypt specifically?
Yes. So tell me about your work at the National Council for Women in specific, and how far do you think women have achieved her rights, not only in Egypt, I mean, I'm talking about the African continent, worldwide. How far do you think women have achieved her rights?
We have definitely advanced. The right word that we use now, women are now empowered. They do have a right, they do have a quota, they do have a saying in everything. They're now in high-level positions. They understand now. They definitely do have a different impact with a flavor, if I may say so. So yes, they have advanced in terms of the legal aspect, in terms of the business. Many of my colleagues now are private owners and are very successful with no fear. The business community itself is now equipped to help and sustain and enable them to even grow better.
How far did you work at the National Council for Women to add to you on the personal level and career level also?
2 years in the National Council for Women. They were very helpful and very supportive to unleash my potential. I was always asked to speak what's on my mind. I was always asked to express how I feel. What do I have to change the world? How do you balance between your private life and your business life? This all added up to my persona that I am now, thanks to them, definitely.
Yes. You also worked at the COMESA, which is a very important entity for African trade, the inter-African trade. Tell me more about this job and how did it add you on the personal and career levels?
So definitely COMESA was an eye-opener. So the many stereotypes about Africa and how they're a bit behind was definitely not true. I was in charge of trade and investment opportunities across the 19 member states back then. Now we're up to 21 member states. So this led to me definitely fighting stereotypes, understanding more about the countries on ground, understanding how can you highlight and unleash the opportunities at hand, and then how do you bridge gaps. So I did have a role in bridging the gaps between the Egyptian community and later on between the world and Africa. Narrowing down in information, filtering insights until you deliver. And this is the impact that I've carried around. So this is how you make things, and this is how you make a change in the world. You believe in a piece of information, persistence and consistency until you make it happen.
Right. Tell me, how do you think, how far is the COMESA important for inter-African trade?
That's a very important question. So COMESA, for everybody that's listening, is basically enabling trade. It's a free trade agreement, so products move freely between the member states. This is a huge power. that needs to be capitalized, utilized properly. So basically what I do is, through the market intelligence unit that I'm heading, we identify those opportunities. So we basically narrow down what product needs to be exported to where and which product needs to be imported. So basically they will be self-sufficient. The more we focus more on the intra-trade between each other, the less we get from the outside world. So intra-trade is on top of the list, definitely, for Egypt's file for exports.
Yes.
COMESA is advancing in terms of the capacities and in terms of the potential that it has within the member states.
Right. From your experience in this field, we would like to give some tips to our viewers if they would like to export a product from Egypt to an African countries. What's your advice? Which products are the best items for exporting and to which countries?
Okay, that's a very expensive question, but I'm willing to answer it. So with Africa, they are definitely not manufacturing countries. The potential is huge. We can narrow it by sector, but definitely comes on top of the list the food sector, chemical sector, building material sector. Textiles and ready-made garments might be a bit tricky because they are already importing in huge amounts.
The textile?
Textiles and ready-made garments.
Yeah.
So definitely I would advise anybody looking to export to start correctly and not to export on random basis whereby they just get a piece of information to export a specific product and they proceed. It is tricky, it is risky, and if it was that easy, we'd all be there.
Yeah.
So definitely start with the right market research, which we can provide and help with. Identify your competition, identify how are you going to exist in the potential market. Do you need to have a warehouse? Do you need to export directly? Do you need to identify a local partner? So the means of how you exist in the market is even more important than what you're going to export.
Yeah.
Because you might be under the impression that they need the product, when in fact they don't need it, they don't use it. That's why it's not there, not because
Yes.
it is lacking. So definitely I always advise to start correctly with the market research and then allow us to lead you through the process of how do you filter the buyer, how do you confirm and verify his information, how do you identify the mode of payment, which is very important, of course. You can, yes, export, but then money collection is a problem and a challenge, definitely. How do you sustain yourself? How do you promote yourself properly in the market? Because yes, everybody has internet, but they're not all users of Facebook. There are alternatives. They're not all on LinkedIn. They're not all on Instagram. So we do also help with identifying the proper marketing and promotion tools in international markets.
Right. Talking more about youth, do you think that youth challenges and obstacles facing youth are common among different countries around the world?
Speaking about my example, I had all the support speaking from the top to the bottom. Things have changed. I don't face challenges. I have been promoted to Deputy Executive Director, which is the youngest amongst the history of my association. It is okay now for me to attend high-level committees, to take decisions, to be trusted to travel. And so it is getting better. Not only are they allowing me to be there, but they are also very confident in the decisions I make, empowering me with the right tools in terms of education, sponsoring, of course, my education, sponsoring so many travels for me to express myself. So yes, definitely youth has challenges, but one of the things that, let's say, eases the challenges is education. If you have something to say, you're well educated, you have a strong mind, you're different but with an impact, this is where the barriers start to fade out.
Definitely throughout your career you faced a lot of challenges and obstacles, and of course you overcame those obstacles. Tell me, what would you tell youth about persistence and perseverance to achieve one's goals?
Okay, if I was to say that the journey is easy, I'd be definitely lying. Challenges are everywhere and they are in every step. So basically what made the day for me was accepting failures, accepting that there is tomorrow, try again harder the next day, manage your time very well, always empower yourself with education, because definitely education and learning helps you understand and add more perspectives than what you already have. Challenges for me were how long do they take to weep over instead of just admitting the challenge. So stepping ahead and moving forward definitely help. Not identifying the challenge as bigger than it already is.
Right, and who were the first people who supported you in your journey? Were your parents, your friends, family members?
Definitely, I would say my family. They always understood how diverse I like to be and how I am by nature against routine, even in terms of sports. So I've basically tried everything. So my parents definitely are the first supporters. Moving to the business, I would say Dr. Farkhanda Hassan. She passed away a couple of years ago, but she was definitely one of the biggest supporters. She saw something in me.
She was my professor also.
Definitely, mine too. She was a great mentor and a great supporter, not only because we're women, but because she understood what I need to do and how I felt an urge to have an impact on the world. Moving on, believe it or not, they were all men leaders, very prominent in the community, but they all encouraged me to overlook challenges, to keep going, to wake up with a smile, to manage my time, and just to never stop, just go with the flow, with whatever it is.
Yes, you told me that also you loved sports while you were a child. Tell me more about your childhood years and the different sports and activities that you joined.
So yes, sports has always been a big part, and I've considered it like my beauty secret. So whenever I have a problem, whenever I'm faced by a situation I can't solve, I would run to the gym. The solution would come following. So sweat it out, let it all out, breathe it all out, and then the solution comes. This is what I always share with my friends. If you can't find a way out, sweat it out, and then the solution will just come. So starting at the age of 3, just like any other girl wishing to be a ballerina, I started ballet and then gymnastics, swimming, tennis, you name it. I've always been there. Dancing has always been a very huge part of my life, just like any other girl. Up until today, so what I do is I go to the gym, I swim. I have a specific passion definitely to kickboxing. It lets it all out. It is a bit extreme definitely, but it empowers who I am. Dancing is still part, so you name it. I've been there. I like to try. I like to experience new things, even if it's hard. Aerial is definitely something new. The ropes and the hoops is definitely a new challenge, inshallah, in the coming month.
Yes, you spoke also about kickboxing.
Yes.
How important is this for self-defense? Did you ever use it?
Definitely not, and I hope I don't, but at least you feel that you can if you have to. This is a very important feeling for me as a frequent traveler, as maybe a woman in a community with different diversities and culture. Yes, I feel I have to be empowered.
Right. Talking about President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his great attention that he has given to both women and youth, how important is this and how positive the impact of this on both women and youth in your opinion? As a woman and as one of the youth.
I have both. I am both. I am a youth and a woman, and I can feel the impact and the importance and the attention that he's giving us. It has basically reflected on all policies. So instead of facing a bit of a challenge in applying for a specific certificate that was not allowed for youth, now it's available. Participation in specific conferences, it was only for a specific age, now I can. So he's definitely, melted out the boundaries and melted out any restrictions on the movement of youth and women to express and prove themselves worth of the opportunity.
Right. You definitely also have certain plans and dreams for the future. Talk to me about those plans on the personal and career levels.
I will have to combine both. So I feel more comfortable combining or working in parallel between my business and my personal life. I want to be a private consultant for exporters, allowing them or enabling them to access foreign markets the right way from my own knowledge, because I've been there, not because I've read the books. But it's different when you've lived there and experienced there and you know how to do it than when you've studied and you're just promoting the idea. So my dream would be the first Minister of Trade at that age. My second dream would be, if not, then I'd be a consultant for export.
And talking of your dream to be the future Minister of Trade, we are having now a lot of women in different significant positions, ministers, parliamentarians. How do you assess this?
This is very important. You know, the diversity in having men and women interact and speak out their minds would definitely help in the final decision or the final outcome that we're looking for. The diversity is always key and always reflects what you call advancement in the eyes of the outside world. So I'm definitely for that.
And you're also at the same time planning to have your own project.
Yes.
A personal project.
Yes.
Talking about projects and SMEs and small and medium enterprises, how do you see the significance of this to the youth, having their own projects, being entrepreneurs? How important is this?
So yes, one of the projects that we do as well is empowering the SMEs, whether with the information or the right steps. If we can help with any steps that cost a lot, we can do it in-house. SMEs is a very important and eminent part of the advancement and the production vehicle. They contribute to the GDP, of course, of Egypt. So yes, we do put special emphasis on the SMEs. We have filtered them by project, by product, and by sectors so that we know where is the potential. We want to engage them in the export activities. What we're doing basically now is starting with the digitalization. So post-COVID-19, everything happens online. And this was a starting point for us. Digitize your presence, be out there, have the right Facebook page, Instagram page, exist on international e-commerce platforms. This is how you do it. And this is what basically we're doing and how we're giving back to society through the empowerment of SMEs, definitely. We do provide a number of courses and trainings for export readiness. And the special program that we just finished is Women in Business SMEs.
Tell me more about this, women in business and small and medium enterprises. It's very important, of course, to empower women to have their own projects on all levels.
Yes.
Tell me more about this.
So yes, this was a project under the EBRD Bank. They are empowering women to take a step further, to be empowered, to take part in the community through empowering their businesses. So there is no bad idea. There is always has to be a plan, and you need to understand how do you sustain it. So this was a starting point. We conducted a one-on-one intervention with the companies, identifying where is the weakness, how can we advance it, how can we work on it, how can we sustain the business. And then they took a very interesting training on export readiness, and then putting some hands-on experience on how to export, meeting the experts, meeting the consultants, meeting the buyers, and then negotiating until they seal a deal. So it was basically a journey, a step-by-step journey until they are now enabled and exporting.
Great. Well, finally, Dina, I would like you to give a message to youth, to women, young women your age, from your place here.
I would definitely say that consistency has been key. Every day is not easy. Challenges are there on the personal level, on the work experience. They're all there. Overlook challenges. Make sure you have the time for yourself. Quality time is very important. Don't define your goals in terms of how people see you, of how people define it. People have different definitions of success. They have different definitions of being self-sufficient. Make your own rules, make your own definitions. Take one day at a time and be persistent.
Right, I would like to thank you very much, Dina Hilal, for joining us today. A true success story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and all the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of Today's Youth. Many thanks for watching, and don't forget to join us next week, same time. Till then, it's goodbye.